Welcome back. This is Bunny Hill devlog number 2. Last week we left off with this guy skiing. I'll be drawing all the comments, so if you comment on this video, in the next video I'll draw your comment. And then I figured I'd cover some of like the basic stuff of 3D because it can be very intimidating when getting into like game dev. There are 3 different categories for this video. Polymodeling. Basically, you have vertexes, which are points in space, and then edges connect those, and faces are made out of at least 3 vertices. And then you can make a 6-sided cube. It's usually determined by polygons, so a cube would have 6 polygons and 12 tries. You can extrude edges to kind of add edges, and merge vertices together to complete an entire mesh. So UV unwrapping, basically you have to create seams on your 3D models to kind of unfold your models into UV space. So UV space is this 2-dimensional plane which your model also exists in, and where the textures go. You can shape the UV islands, which are just the cut up parts of your mesh, however you'd like. So we have a dummy character here, and you might say, oh, I cut these seams so that I can lay out his legs vertically and lay out his face and put the textures on. You can actually stack UVs, and this allows the textures to be super simple. So like this bunny, the textures are super simple, and like his eyes are just mirrored, so both of those are stacked. Doing this allows you to make super simple textures like these. I just make them in Microsoft Paint, and I can use them for a ton of different models in the game. So the third section for this video would be rigging characters. So once you have your wireframe set, you've UV'd and probably textured your character, you add the bones. So the bones are separate, they go inside the character. You have the bones, which make up the skeleton, and you have the wireframe. The bones are then skinned to the wireframe, meaning that each vertice is given a value of essentially 1 to 0, in which each bone has like a weight. So the weight painting process, it goes like this. You basically color each vertice the amount it should be affected by each bone. So for example, in this case, I have the head bone selected, and I want all of the head to move when I move the head bone. So I paint the entire head red, and then I have a slight gradient on the neck so that it kind of pulls the neck as well. This is the process that allows the different bones to be aligned to the correct parts of the mesh. So back to Bunny Hill. Last week I had him skiing, so I needed to see like where he was going, so I added these trails, which help. I also added some terrain that is bumpy so that he would kind of go down the terrain, and I also added a camera that follows the player. I added moving so I could actually ski back and forth by forcing the player to the right or left, but you still can't really tell where you're going because there's no indicators on the ground. So I made the ground a checkerboard, kind of like Super Monkey Ball, so that you could see what was going on. So the player is still really light right now, so he kind of floats, but we'll change that. So I spent a lot of time tweaking the movement and the gravity to get that right. I needed obstacles to run into, so I made this stump. Figured I'd start with a stump. I modeled it and textured it up and put it in the game. I was moving a lot quicker now with the gravity up. I used physics materials in Unity, which allow me to set the friction of different objects. So since it's supposed to be snow, I just set the friction super low, and since you're on skis, you should glide over the surface. I made this jump animation. I think it looks pretty funny. And then, as you might have noticed, there are trees in the thumbnail, but these are the old trees, which I used cards for, and they look pretty ugly. So I tried to make a new tree that looked kind of more three-dimensional and kind of has a lot more depth to it. They kind of look like Super Mario 64 trees, which I like. So I put them in the game, and you can just go through them because they don't have any hitboxes. So it's looking a lot cooler now, but still missing a lot of stuff. So I got kind of busy, did some gates. These are going to be like speed boosts. I ultimately changed these because this is what like slalom flags kind of look like, but they don't really do that well as of a read. But I added a bunch more trees, added the boost zones. They're a little bit too much, and I made ramps too. And that's where we'll leave it for this one. So here are the comments from last video. There was only one comment, so here I have turned it into an image. So if you want your comment drawn or just whatever, you could type literally anything. Just comment on this video and it'll be in the next one. Alright, peace.